What's going on, guys? So the official trailer for Throne and Liberty from NCSoft was actually just released a few days ago and had a lot of people checking it out, a lot of eyes on it, over 2 million views on YouTube already, which is pretty big for a new MMO. And this is something I've been keeping my eye on. When they announced a couple years back, they put out a list of all the projects they're working on, and one of the ones they had was a game called Project TL, which in turn turned out to be Throne and Liberty, which was actually the only MMO for PC that they announced, and that's why I had my eye on it, mainly because all their other games that they're working on are basically mobile games, so I didn't really have an interest in it. Now, this game actually looks pretty good. The graphics look amazing, the combat looks pretty fun. In similar fashion to most of their Korean MMOs, I don't really have any doubt in the graphics or the combat. I mean, they're behind Blade and Soul, Ion, all having pretty fun combat and great graphics for their time. At least Ion's a little dated at this point, let's be honest. One of the things I really liked that I noticed from the trailer was the UI doesn't seem to be very cluttered, and we noticed in a lot of Korean MMOs that most of their UIs are actually pretty terrible in the sense that there's so much information and flashy icons going on. It's hard to really pay attention to the game, at least for someone like myself. So seeing the UI really clean and kind of just small and having just the open world really makes it appealing to myself. One of the things I noticed though is that the game is actually going to be really focused on big conflict PvP fights, and that could be a good and bad thing, mainly because if the population ever dwindles, it could be pretty concerning to how these big fights will actually happen if there's not enough players in the game. Now, one of the things I have to say is if you've been playing NCSoft type games, you know that their company is very big on the microtransactions and pay to win. You play Blade Soul, I've heard Blade Soul for years, seen the steady decline of the game mainly because of NCSoft's monetization, and their management of the game has been pretty poor. And honestly, I don't see it really changing for Throne and Liberty. I don't think they're going to change at all with their monetization. If anything, it's probably going to get worse, mainly because it's their new big MMO, and they'll have a lot of players jumping in at launch. Really, for me, I just know 100% this game is going to be pay to win. If you think this game is not going to be pay to win, you're out of your mind. It's NCSoft. It's going to be pay to win, and that's something you're just going to have to accept right off the bat if you want to play the game. Personally, for me, I will try it out and check it out, enjoy it maybe for a month or two, but I already know the longevity of the game is not going to last very long, for at least for me, and a lot of players are going to jump ship mainly because of how NCSoft runs their games. Gaming companies have to make their money, that's obvious, but the way they do it is pretty terrible for the health of the game, where they sacrifice a lot of the progression based on how much money you spend. And we've seen Blade and Soul with the RNG loot boxes, with the gambling on the troves, being able to just straight up buy in-game currency with in real life money. We've seen them release Ion Classic, where they just made it basically a money cash grab, where they just milk players to oblivion with the membership, which costs like $20 to $50. Cash shop items to increase your leveling XP, just everything they can to make the most amount of money out of their games. So really, with Throne and Liberty, I do think the game will be fun for a couple months. A lot of players will check it out. It's obviously going to be successful for the first few months. It's a new MMO. It looks great. It looks fun. People are going to check it out. It's just how it is. But I do believe that this game will suffer a lot of players jumping ship once they realize how bad the microtransactions are, as NCSoft is probably one of the worst microtransactions, pay to win type company. Really, over in Korea, even they know that it's really bad. In Korea, it's more accepted compared to the West. Even the Korean players know that NCSoft is really terrible. Honestly, I'm not as excited as I would be, unfortunately, with playing Blade Soul for so many years and knowing how NCSoft is so bad with managing their games. I really don't see how this could be any different. I don't see NCSoft turning a new leaf and making this game non-pay to win, or actually being able to manage, because they're very bad with communicating to their NC West team over in the West, where they have the NCSoft team in Korea and the NC West team for all the content in the West. They don't communicate a lot of things. They change stuff without talking to the Western team, and overall, it just really hurts the player base. Either way, I will check it out, and again, I'll make some content if it looks interesting enough. But it's just kind of unfortunate, because when you see the tag NCSoft, you know it's not going to be ran very well.